Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Glenn Livingston with defeatyourcravings.com. And I'm here with an old client who wants to talk to us about how she recovered from a recent slip and got herself back on track to feeling confident. Is that right, Michelle? Is that what you want to do?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Could you just give people a brief history? Then we'll get right into what happened recently and how you overcame it.
Sure. So I've suffered from disordered eating for, I'd say, about maybe 25 plus years. I did things that I'm sure a lot of other people have done who are listening, tried all different programs and tried to read different books to help myself. And I discovered Glenn's old program a few years ago, and I did really well with that. And then I would say after about almost 2 years of doing super well in that program, I had a slip and I couldn't get back. And so I decided to join his new program. And since January 1, I've been doing great. And I feel I have the confidence that I had back when I was doing well for the almost 2 years. And I feel like I have a better understanding for why I had that slip, how I can deal with it in the future if something similar happens. And yeah, I just wanted to give confidence to anyone out there who has been doing really well and then slipped, because at first I was feeling super disappointed and I really thought I conquered it. I just want you to know that you can truly get right back on and gain that confidence back.
What was it about the new program as compared to the old program that helped you recover your confidence?
Well, the old program was excellent, but I think the new program, the emphasis on that one squeal, kind of screw it, just do it, like kind of the focus on making sure that you get through that, maybe trying to see how I can articulate it. The organismic distress that you talk about and how you have to make sure you're doing well in all the other areas of like sleep, drinking, connection, all that. You have to have a solid foundation in order to better deal with that screw it, just do it if it comes. So I can give a little example if it would help.
Yeah, that would definitely help. I'll just chime in and say the newest book and the newest program, it reflects my understanding after working with 2,000 clients that it's not all about fixing your thinking. I used to think that if you fixed your thinking about food, that's all you had to do to recover. And largely that's what I did. But then you get to this point where people tell me that I don't have any excuses. There's no reason I could justify doing this, but oh well, what the hell, screw it, just do it. And they get to that point, and that seems to have to do with a falsely perceived emergency in the survival brain, where it says, oh my God, there's an emergency. We need extra resources. We're too tired. We're too hungry. There's not enough water. We're isolated. We don't have enough other people in our tribe or our pack. Screw it, just do it. I don't care about your silly plans. And then reason goes out the window. And so a lot of what I emphasized in the new book was, how do you combat that kind of organismic distress so that doesn't happen? Anyway, go ahead and give an example.
Yeah, so I have an example and then I can kind of go over how I recovered from this slip. So the example, my food plan, it's not restrictive, but I do have to plan ahead what I'm going to eat, right? So there was a day, I even forget the food, I think it was like a bagel. All of a sudden, this strong craving came for that, and it wasn't on my plan for that day. I was white knuckling it, and it was just really bothering me. It was extremely annoying. And around the same hours of this obsession, and I get a text from a friend, not even a best friend, just saying, "Oh, hey, do you want to meet up later and walk our dogs together?" And I said, "Sure." Again, this was not like a best friend. This was just a friend. We had just a normal get together, but I came back and the craving for that bagel was totally gone. I felt totally rejuvenated. And again, it's not like on this walk we had some deep talk or anything major happened. But I immediately thought of your program and I was thinking how, oh my gosh, my body was telling me, or my mind or something was telling me I need something, but it was telling me I needed a bagel when what I really needed was to connect with a friend. And it was just this revelation. And it made sense because I can get lazy with maintaining my friendships because I have a husband and kids. I'm close with my sisters, who I consider my best friends. But it really kind of highlighted that friendships, whether or not they're your best friends or just, acquaintances, they just give you something that you don't get from family and kids and all that. And I kind of told myself that the next time I'm getting some sort of a craving for something, I literally am going to go over the list that you have mentioned in some of your podcasts or in your book. Okay, wait, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I need to see a friend? Am I tired? Just go through all of that and really try to assess what I need. So I thought that was a good example of, had I met with this friend earlier or been more on top of it, I probably would not have had that urge for the bagel, if that makes sense.
Am I overwhelmed? Am I making too many decisions? Do I just need a break? Do I need to take a nap? Am I cold? Am I lonely? All of the above. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
that's really helpful, Michelle. Thank you.
Oh, good, good. Again, if it helps anyone out there, what I did when I kind of got back on track, I told myself, well, I did a few things. I created a 30-day experiment challenge, whatever you want to call it, for myself to avoid sugary treats aside from a single dark chocolate square that it just more is like a palate cleanser. And I made sure to do my ritual. I don't know if people know what that is in this new program.
It's a few things that you pause and say before you eat.
Right. So I didn't do that for every meal, but I did that before breakfast every single day. I told myself for the next 30 days, anytime any sort of urge for any food that is not allowed on my plan comes on, to go through that list of what do I really need. And so many things happened in the 30 days. I not only lost, I think it was like 7 pounds, and I wasn't trying to diet, I was eating what I consider healthy and not restricting. It was just simply from not binging and not having the sugary foods. But while that was certainly nice, the best part was the food obsession totally went away. And I just felt like I had so much more room in my brain to think about other things. And of course, sometimes I had more time, right? It takes time to go to the bakery, get the thing, and come back. On day 16, I remember my husband asking, "Oh, you're over halfway there. Are you excited?" It wasn't like, I can't wait to just get through 14 more days and then I get to have a treat. It was more like, I'm feeling so good. I don't know if I want to just continue this for a while. And anyway, the 30 days was up. I did everything I wanted to do. And I kind of was deciding, do I want to do another 30 days? Do I want to do this forever? What do I want to do? And I have to say that as soon as the 30 days were up and I was at that point where I was deciding, what do I want to do? The food noise did start to come back. And I think that relates to how you say that ambiguity can get the pig kind of more active. So that made total sense.
If there's ambiguity in your rule and the pig feels like there's a chance, it's like a kid that feels like there's a chance to get a toy, have a little temper tantrum until it realizes it's not going to work.
Right. So the pig was probably like, oh, she doesn't know what she wants to do. Anyway, I stayed with the no sweets for probably another almost 10 days. And then I did plan to have something. And I haven't officially made any sort of rule, kind of just still deciding what to do and realizing that it's giving a little more noise for my pig, but I'm still fully staying on my plan and happy with how things are going.
But so these are very concrete, specific examples that are really helpful for people trying to put things into practice. I really appreciate it.
Good.
Was there anything in the new program that wasn't clear that you needed an explanation for or that you feel like we have to clarify?
No, I thought the old program was excellent, and I just think that this new program kind of really closes that door even more securely, if that makes sense. And it was helpful to continue with this new program, even though I felt like the old one was certainly a very good one.
Lovely. Is there something I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
No, just because I've heard other podcasts or other calls, if we have time, I'd like to share one part of my rule that only because I think it might help others.
Please.
Okay, so I have a very simple rule, just that I will always plan ahead of time what I'm going to eat for the day. And I think that it's super helpful. Just as you were saying, it's nice to not have to make decisions in the moment. But of course, life happens and things happen. So I wanted to make it a rule for life that I can always have. And it's impossible to literally plan everything you're going to eat all the time. And it kind of seems cumbersome. But one way that it works for me is I only have two conditionals, but one of them is if something comes up that is unexpected. So maybe I plan to have a salad at a restaurant and I get there and it's off the menu, or maybe a neighbor comes over with some fresh baked cookies that I wasn't expecting, something like that. I have kind of a behavioral thing that I call it. I have to go through a 4-step process before I decide how to proceed. And the first thing I have to do is take some sort of a mindful deep breath. Then I have to ask myself, how will I feel during this decision? How will I feel after this decision? And might this decision trigger me to binge? It's really helpful because, sometimes let's take the example of I do have a neighbor who bakes periodically and she's an excellent baker, and sugary treats are not totally off my plan. So if she comes over unexpectedly, I take that breath. And when I say how will I feel during the decision, I want to make sure that if I make the choice to eat that cookie, that I'm going to fully enjoy it. I don't want to be eating it like, oh, I shouldn't eat this. I feel like if I'm going to go for it and I'm allowing myself to, I think it's important to allow myself to enjoy it. And then when I say, how will I feel after, am I going to feel like, oh, I shouldn't have had that? Will I feel guilty after or not? And if the answer to that is no, then okay. And then the last question, might it trigger me to binge? In the case of the cookies, honestly, my answer to that is it might. I think I'm in a very solid place. I don't think I will binge, but I think, yeah, it might make the pig more active. But just even the awareness of that, sometimes I would make the decision, it's not worth it. But if I make the decision that I still want to have it, I have that awareness to be really on guard for that pig for that moment, if that makes sense.
Could you repeat those 3 questions again?
Yeah, so it's actually 4. The first one is critical. It's 4 steps. The first thing is you have to take a mindful deep breath, whether that's a 7-Eleven or just inhale for 4, exhale for 4, something kind of long. The second one is how will I feel during this decision, like while I'm eating it? How will I feel after this decision? And might this decision trigger me to binge?
Gotcha. Terrific.
Yeah, because I've heard on the call sometimes people will say, oh, I planned this and that, but I got there and I saw this and I didn't know what to do. Again, this conditional may not work for everyone, but there's even one person out there who it may help.
I love it. Thank you, Michelle. That's great. Is there anything else?
No, that is it.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.